Hello, I'm Holly from My Daily HAEDs on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for joining me today while I talk about my cross stitch. I hope that everyone has been well this past week or since you've last seen us. I wanted to say thank you very much for all the shout outs that I received. I will try to remember to say the few that I remember, but I've been absolutely astounded and very touched by people who've made the effort to call out my channel. I really truly appreciate it, and everybody says that, but we all do appreciate the generosity of spirit when it comes to that. All right, going straight into the cross stitch. My first project as ever is my The Falling Snow by Alan Giana. I'm going to try this today, just showing pictures, because trying to insert pictures all the time is not my it makes time a lot longer. So hopefully I can be a little bit quicker today in editing this video. Anyway, Falling Snow is it's on 25 count lugana 1/1. It's currently 23.55%, and this past week my stitch count wasn't that great. It was 551 stitches, but I did reach the top of another diagonal, and I've got so many more lovely colors in there. It's quite exciting to actually thread the needle with a new color when you've been working with the same grays and blues and whites for so long. So I'm really super enjoying this, and it is a slow process, but it is lovely as well. Anyway, the next project will be Heaven and Earth Mountain Landscape. It's a stock photo. I'm currently doing this at on 18 count, one aida, 2/1, and this is just stunning regardless of which way you do it. You look at it. It's still got a long way to go. Because the fabric is so fine when it's rolled up, I don't realize how much longer I do have until I stretch it out like this. But I've just been working in the sky, then coming down onto the mountain, and hopefully by the end of in another week, I'll be back down into the purples and pinks, which are really lovely colors. Oh, and I did do some really rich purples, like purpley blues and purples up here on the mountain side. I don't know if you can see them, but they're absolutely glorious. They're not, I guess you say they're bluey purples. They're so pretty and lots of fun to stitch. All right, the next, Mountain Landscape. It's a stock photo, 18 count, 2/1, and I'm currently at 24.52%, and I didn't write down how many stitches I've done this past week. Oh well. I might or might not edit it in, but suffice to say, it wasn't as many as I had hoped. I think it was, anyway, it wasn't as many as I hope. I aim for at least 700 stitches on each of my projects, except for Mini Evening, which is coming up there. Mini Evening is the next one I'll be talking about. It's by Leonid Afremov. All of these are HAEDs, so from Heaven and Earth Designs. This is done on 18 count, 2/1 again. I like the 2/1 for the coverage. Maybe on a lighter pattern, 1/1 would suffice for my taste, but with the darker print, the darker ones like Evening and Mountain Landscape, I really prefer I would prefer the fuller coverage on it. Mini Evening, I've done 682 stitches on it, and here it is now. Oops, let me stretch it out for you. It's only a tiny little bar, but look at the colors in that. And the reason why I got so much done on this is that one night before last, I think it was, I was so busy during the day that I'd only done a couple, and I hadn't stitched on anything, and I had choice of start, and I didn't think I'd have plenty of time as well. So I thought, well, I can either try to reach 100 stitches on a pretty much confetti on birds and blooms, or I could work on this and possibly reach my 100 stitches. What I'd forgotten is that it was a Saturday night. My husband doesn't work on a Sunday, and we ended up staying up a little bit later than normal. Also, there were just loads of blocks of colors I could cross country down and fill in. So you can see 996. It was beautiful, but there were lots of other blues in there, and there was a few little patches of 1 and 2 stitches, but it was so glorious. It was such fun to stitch. And the last one, whoops, I just put the fabric on top of this one and go back a page. I need to readjust this. This is Birds and Blooms. This is my main focus. I just reached this little blue and white bird here. I was thinking, oh, it's a beautiful flower, and then I realized it's a birdie. It's gorgeous. Let me get this back up for you. And this is it's a mini Birds and Blooms by Aimee Stewart on Heaven and Earth Designs. And it's just so gorgeous, so gorgeous, and lots of fun to stitch. It's just sometimes when you really want to get some stitches in and you don't have that much time, or you think you don't have that much time, this is not really the one you want to go to, because there can be loads of color changes. So that's just the way it goes. It's not a major problem with it. But this past week I did 1,214 stitches, which is fantastic, and I'm currently at 53.85%. Now the challenge is to get to 55% by next week when I do another video. Hopefully I can do it. And then this week I have been working on, dropped my some of my things. Anyway, I've been working on the Bucilla Gingerbread Santa felt kit. I've finished 6 of them now. And I did a Flosstube extra, because as I was stitching a few of them together, I was thinking maybe there are people who don't know how to, or are a bit trepidatious about starting them because they don't know how they would assemble them. So I just, as I was, I took a rubber band and stuck my stuck my phone to my magnifying lamp and just put it on over above what I was stitching. It's not the clearest view, but I did my best. I'm not a tech wizard, but I did my best, and I ended up just chatting and going in some really strange directions. Isn't it odd how your mind will wander when you're sitting there talking to yourself? Anyway, I'll show you the ones I've currently got. I don't remember which ones I had finished last week. Oh yes, this is one of the ones I was showing in my video. Then you've got this one. And this one. I used to make gingerbread cookies with designs like this on them. for snowflakes and stars and stuff. So it kind of reminds me of when I used to do baking. My gingerbread man. I think this is the one I did last week. There's a little, oh, I just realized it's a bit wonky. A wonky mitten. And there's a little mitten there. And there's peace. They're such lovely ornaments. I only found out a few days ago that my husband doesn't like the feel of felt. And I was like, and he's like, I don't like the feel of these. And he says, they're very cute. And I was like, well, yeah, you could have said that before I started felt. He's like, well, I thought you would know. And I'm like, well, I'm the one that decorates the tree anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you don't like the feel of sympathetic me, I guess. No, not. I do. I'm the one that decorates the tree. I mean, to be fair, he did help me a lot more last year. It's only, and I'm quite happy to put those on if he, I mean, he's not squeamish about it or anything, but I'll put those, I'll make sure to keep those aside for myself to put on. And regardless, he's a grown man. He can tough it out. Oh, anyway. And one thing I wanted to do is show you my Aurora Borealis. Oh, goodness. My Aurora Borealis that I finished in November 2018. I think it's an 18 count, 2/1 from Dimensions, and I did a little bit. I changed it up a bit. Oh crumbs! There we go, and it's glorious. What I did is where all the white, not all, where a lot of the white back stitching was supposed to be, especially on the ground and on the lake and stuff, I changed it to metallic filament so that it would glisten like it would be snow at night. I've had so many compliments on this cross stitch, and we'll keep it out all year long. My original thought was that I would just keep it out just for the winter time, but I don't have any autumnal or I'm not to the stage where I have lots of cross stitch, large cross stitches that I can swap out for the seasons. And even so, after you spent so much time on them, do you really want to be swapping them out? It's something to consider. I don't mind. And my husband bought me a painting years ago when we went to Cressing Temple Barns, which was a Knights Templar hospital. Obviously there's like a farm there, and it's a visiting center and things like that now. But we went to a craft fair while we were there, and my husband bought me an oil painting of a countryside with a robin sitting on the front, and it is very wintry scene. But I love it so much I keep it out all year long because I love it. And also Alicia at Adventures of Stitching, she's such a sweetheart, and she asked me about my floss storage. So first and foremost, I have all my projects have their own individual boxes and with their own names in them. They've got their own, like I've explained before. That's fully kitted. And they've got in there, I usually keep the floss list and a picture of what it is. And there's all my threads, and you can see that there's needles because I just store the threaded needle in there instead of rethreading needles, which I find onerous at times. I just tuck my needle in the top there, so I'm ready to go. There's one of my homemade needle minders, and because I stitch in hand, I prefer to have it in my box and that way it holds the spare needles, because I have so many needles. And once, you know, if I reach the end of a thread while I'm stitching, I don't immediately rethread, because I made the mistake once on one of my projects, and because I got to the end of the project and I realized I had rethreaded all these needles, and I'd already reached the count of the needles. I think it was before Pattern Keeper. Maybe it was with the Aurora Borealis that happened. But then I had to sit there and take the thread out of all these needles before I put them back into my main stash. So I was like, nah, I won't do that again. I'll rethread when I go to start a new stitch. And then the rest of it is just stashed in boxes. I don't, my whites, I just start at the beginning. I don't go by the numbers with them. Like Blanc, B5200 and 01. Excuse me. They all start right there. And like I said, the permanent marker is so super easy to get off. You just take a scrubby with fairy liquid or Dawn dishwashing liquid and wash it off, and you can just write on it yet again. And as my collection or my stash has expanded, I've had to do it multiple times. You see, this box has been around for a while. It's pretty battered. I've got, I think, 7 boxes like that where I've got them all put through, and I try to, I don't just keep one of each kind in here. I always aim to have at least one of each bobbin that I'm currently using on the project, or that I will be starting. I try to have at least one in my box, so when I do run out, I can just reach and grab it. But sometimes I will have 2, 3, 5, whatever amount of bobbins, either because I've been gifted a lot of the same floss, or that I've just collected it over the years. I mean, a few years back, my floss was in the right state, and I'd been given a whole heap of thread, and it was one tangled mess. It took me weeks and weeks to get everything organized, and I was just doing a little bit each day until I finally did it. This isn't a perfect system, because when I'm putting them away after I restash, I have to do a lot of shifting about and things like that. But for me, this works best. I don't like strings hanging down. As much as I love the idea of the floss drops, or the organizers. I've done the organizers before. My son was just a toddler, and yeah, they used to have those Paco organizers where the thread would be hanging down. And I was doing a Teresa Winslow with all the blends, and I had each little needle threaded and had the rest of them hanging down. And my toddler, not once, not twice, but 3 times, said, "Mommy, I organized your threads for you." Let's just say, with the Teresa Winslow dragon, it was a very long, arduous, frustrating process of getting all those threads organized again. Because bless his little heart, he had moved every single needle and put it in an order that he thought was appropriate. Bless him. I love him to bits. But yeah, that was definitely, I had to laugh, even though it was a very frustrating thing. Anyway, I'm sure that he'll love me telling you about that one little incident. He was what's the word? Because intrepid. I used to read to him Bramley Hedge series. And I think it's the little boy mouse was intrepid. He's very adventurous and always getting into trouble. So the Bramley Hedge series was absolutely fabulous, and I enjoyed reading them to him multiple times. And we used to watch the little videos they had as well, but the stories were even better. But anyway, he was an intrepid little fellow. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you very much to the people who have shouted me out. And this isn't a complete list of this past week, but it's these are the ones I could remember as I was doing this, because what happens is once I watch the video, I try to respond and say thank you for giving me a shout out, and I then forget to write it down. My mind's a sieve. I'm sorry. It's a frustrating thing that it's just part of me. Anyway, Danielle at Cardiff Stitcher, she gave me a shout out. Mad Morty did. Live Love Laugh Stitcher, she's so adorable. And Intuitive Stitcher, who's a real sweet lady. Mad Morty and her fella, oh my goodness, they're just such a giggle, aren't they? I really appreciate everyone watching today. I will have a little slideshow afterwards. Now, we didn't go out yesterday. The weather was quite gloomy and dreary, and my husband was it's just one of those times he just needed a good rest. This is when we went out to, let's see, week before last. I just broke it. We had so many photos. I broke it down into 2 slideshows. This is of Cocklawburn Beach, and yeah, going down some back roads. So it's still beautiful scenery. Cocklawburn Beach is quite interesting because it's got an inflating tower. I think that's what it's called, inflating. Something about crossfire and stuff. Because of where it is, they had like almost a 180-degree sweep of the coastline, so they were able to defend the coastline during World War II. And I was in the little tower, and it was just so tiny, and I was just wondering if the soldiers were billeted at the local farms or if they were camping out, because it was just so tiny. And it's just, you'd always wonder how people lived in what circumstances, because it's, I appreciate first-hand stories, because I look at those things and I don't think about the grand scheme of things and what was going on. I think about the personal stories of people that lived in those circumstances and what day-to-day life, or the things that were going on. I mean, where I went inside for the first time, because we've been to Cocklawburn Beach a few times. It's stunning scenery. But I was just a bit, excuse me, I was just a bit disappointed that there was so much graffiti there. And I guess it's just someone trying to put their mark to be remembered by. But on the other side of it, I think it would have had a lot more impact, the starkness, because I'm sure the soldiers didn't have neon pink paint to draw hearts on the walls and things. So I know that the soldiers did write on the walls in various different places, but if they were, I didn't see any from that era. It was all just spray paint. But yeah, I like to know those kind of things. It's a beautiful day. It's been down in 1 digit Celsius, or it's like 45 degrees Fahrenheit at night. It's getting nippier. I've actually turned the heating on. So when we live I usually try to wait until October, just because I try to be careful with our pennies. But it was one of those times where you get up in the morning and you're like, whoo. Anyway, you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for visiting today. Thank you for liking and commenting. I've enjoyed the comments. There's a few people that I haven't responded to yet. I will. And sometimes it takes me a little longer than I'd like to get back to people. but I try to get back as soon as possible. And I truly do really enjoy your comments, and it's gives me a touch of the outside world. So I wish you a wonderful week. I hope that you have plenty of stitching time and enjoy yourselves.